This is Hannibal and Piper here coming at you with a daily wrestling news update. Raw only did a 0.41 rating last night. And I have to say, I tried to watch the highlights just now. And there's a point where Seth Rollins attacks Cody Rhodes outside the ring and just throws the weakest looking punches ever. And I guess they're going to be feuding through the summer because they are scheduled for house shows in up until August. And I don't know if anyone has Seth Rollins actually won any of these house show matches that he's had against Cody Rhodes yet. I don't know. It seems like that's just an uninteresting feud to me. The other thing I noticed from watching the parts of the highlights I could watch, I can't even watch Matt Riddle in highlight form because it's just too brutal for me. But I saw the Indian wrestler do his thing with the Mysterios and then the Omos guy and Lashley. And I couldn't help but notice how green the Indian wrestler and the Omos guy is. So it's just like, no wonder less people like watching wrestling, because when the ratings were really high and it was interesting in the 80s and 90s, and even in the early 2000s, it was better. The wrestlers were more seasoned and skilled than they are now. I mean, NXT hasn't even started doing house shows yet. So no wonder their ratings are in the gutter. And I'm just calling it as I see it. Sasha Banks and Naomi walked out a week ago. Sasha Banks was partying over the weekend. TMZ put out a video of her on stage. I think it was at an event Snoop Dogg's son was involved with. Of course, Banks is related to Snoop Dogg. It's interesting. I saw Snoop Dogg on Logan Paul's Impulsive podcast today. I was listening to it while I was working. And since Logan Paul had just had Sasha Banks on, he brought up that Sasha Banks was related to him, and he barely acknowledged it. So who knows how close they are. Ric Flair also addressed the rumors that Brian Blair, I guess, accidentally started that Hulk Hogan would be teaming up against the Rock and Roll Express against Flair and another two partners for this July 31st event. Flair said that Hogan has been invited to StarCast and he believes Hogan will be there. But he thinks it'll be to be part of the roast and not for an actual match. So Hogan could very well be at the StarCast. I don't know what WWE's contract status is right now with Hogan, if he's still under contract or not. So Richard tips me $5. Cheers from SoCal, California, being my second favorite state. By the way, Piper and I enjoyed a nice sushi dinner tonight. She loves sushi. Thanks for the $5 tip. Jay, Steamboat is out. Steamboat has publicly said that he's not going to be involved in that. It's going to be Flair and a team against the Rock and Roll Express and somebody. And the team that Flair's teaming up with hasn't been confirmed. So we'll see. I don't even know who Dirk Steele is or if that's a joke. I remember the name Dirk Diggler from Boogie Nights, which is a great movie, by the way. Which I'm sure none of you are surprised. I like that movie. Wayne Piper's snack was good. Al, back in the territories. Yeah, you could send those people out and have people work on certain things. I'll be honest, I watched that most of the 3-minute highlights. And there was not one thing I found interesting on it. And I wish I could say there was something I found interesting, but nothing. It was brutal. I couldn't even like. I had to fast forward. I don't know why people like Matt Riddle. He is just like nails on a chalkboard to me. I'm not. I'm sure he has fans, but like that's just such a turnoff to see him on a show. But like watching the highlights, I'm just seeing green wrestlers, Dominic Mysterio, Rey Mysterio, who's been around since the '90s, who I haven't been interested in watching since his WCW days. Seth Rollins with his weak punches. I'll give Seth Rollins credit. He does have nice suits, but that's about all the good I can say about him. Yeah, there's no real places for wrestlers to learn now. Jason checking in from the Maritimes. Hopes to see Blood Hunter in the Maritimes someday. We'll see. I actually did an acting class today, and beyond the Blood Hunter project, I'm already developing a script for another project in the fall that will be recorded right here in Canada, but that will be like a movie specifically for YouTube. I think I'm more interested in doing like movie type work and acting type work, even though I've never claimed that I'm the greatest actor, but it's something I find more interesting than wrestling these days. Crying, what was my favorite WCW match? Well, the Jacques Rougeau against Hulk Hogan one from Montreal that I was there for, because the electricity in the crowd was crazy. It was like it felt like there was almost going to be a riot when Hulk Hogan lost. As much as Jacques Rougeau is loved by the people of Montreal, Hulk Hogan had not. That match happened in 1996. And by that time, Hulk Hogan hadn't wrestled in Montreal since, I would say, at least 1993, whenever his last WWE match in Montreal was. And Montreal is one of his most popular cities. And that was the first time WCW had ever come to Canada since they got popular. I think they went to Toronto and a few other places in the earlier years and didn't draw flies. But yeah, like it was a pro Hulk Hogan crowd, and like it was just a crazy match because the atmosphere. There was more electricity in the air for Hogan against Jacques Rougeau than there was for Bret Hart against Shawn Michaels, in my opinion. And I was there for both of those matches in the same arena because a lot of people thought the Bret Hart thing was a work. A lot of us thought it was just an angle. And as I've already reported, when I was a kid and Bret was scheduled to wrestle in Ottawa the next night, most of us expected Bret was still going to wrestle in Ottawa. It didn't click in most fans back then until later that was not a work. So like that Survivor Series 97 was overall a very boring pay-per-view, by the way. The WCW house show was way better, in my opinion. Would I do a top 10 matches of all time video? That would be tough. There's so many I like. Sean has to change the channel immediately when he sees Jericho. Jericho is another guy that ever since WCW, I haven't found him entertaining. I found Jericho the most entertaining when he was like the young guy, like fighting to be like entertaining and do stuff to catch attention in WCW. Ever since he went to WWE, I lost my interest in him. But that's not that I don't respect his accomplishments and think he's one of the top wrestlers today. Bill Ottawa would have been involved in the riot with Rougeau pitting Hogan. And Bill is a guy I've known for a while. He's actually lived in Montreal. And yes, Jacques Rougeau did pay Hulk Hogan that night. But again, Hogan could have $30,000 to Hulk Hogan is like less than a penny to a normal person. Hulk Hogan in those days was making huge money in WCW, and he definitely did it as a favor to Jacques Rougeau. I don't think Hogan really gave a damn about, and I think it was only 25,000 to be honest. I think he was just doing Jacques a favor because Jacques had worked hard all those years for him in WWE. So who knows? Ivan, what's my favorite ECW match? Oh my God. I don't really have a favorite, to be honest. The one that stands out to me, and I not for a good reason, was the barbed wire match with Terry Funk and Sabu, both of who I was later in the ring with, but just from how much damage it did to both men. But I wouldn't say it was my favorite, but that was my most memorable ECW matches. Miles, there's wrestling boot makers that make wrestling boots. Mine have all been custom other than my first pair, which I bought from Smith Hart. Anna never liked Chris Jericho's sideburns, I don't think. Sean says most fans think everything's a work. The Grease likes Ralphus over Jericho. Jeff is a big fan. Well, thank you. I appreciate all the fans. Sean, a lot of people did think Owen's fall was a work. I remember I was in grade 9 going to school the next day, and people were making jokes about it because they thought it was a work, and they were making fun of people that thought it was real. So I was never a big Owen Hart fan. I'm not saying I don't respect him, but like I stayed out of it. But I remember the wrestling fans at that time that were talking about it were being made fun of by the cooler kids, saying that it was all a work. So there were people that did believe that that it was a work. Okay, I guess I misread something. Oh, sick burns on Steph. Okay, I don't quite get it. James says, lady number 1. The truth loves the content. Justin remembers hearing it on the radio news. Well, Tom Pritchard on this channel tomorrow night, he's going to be doing a live interview about Owen Hart. So feel free to tune into that. What about, I don't remember when, I think when it got on more news, people realized it was real. But all I remember, I specifically remember people thinking it was a work when it happened in my high school, because I was in high school, grade 9 at that time. I specifically remember wrestling fans being made fun of by the cooler kids. I also remember that people thinking Brian Pillman's death was a work, which happened right around that time as well. And again, that was before the explosion of the internet. Now, of course, everyone has the internet on their phones. Back then, it was still dial-up, and you were paying for a certain amount of hours a month. So it's not like news traveled quite as fast, although it was on like the television news and stuff. Anyways, I got to do some more work myself, do some yoga, and yeah, take care of my dog because I got Piper with me tonight. So I wish everybody a good night. It seems like the power outages here in Ottawa, Canada are finally coming to an end. El Spicy said he was made fun of for the NWO shirt. Oh, well. I remember I was made fun of for the Sunny shirt with the pool cue. I remember that. That was, I remember that when I was like in grade 9, and that was like before the wrestling boom really came off. I remember I thought I was so cool going to school in a shirt with Sunny, with a pool cue between her cleavage. And boy, was I made fun of for wearing a wrestling shirt. Yeah. But whatever. That's what growing up is all about. And then as time goes on, you get in some fights and people leave you alone. So have a great night. Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please help me out and like this video. Then click the subscribe and get notifications buttons so you don't miss any of my latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Follow us on Facebook at the Hannibal TV for more live streams and videos. And while you're at it, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Hannibal TV.